Welcome.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you. 100 years of experience with automotive, telecom, public companies. You know, it's interesting though. This isn't about the last 100 years. We're going to talk about the next 100 years, and we talk about this next generation. And before I get into the slide deck, I want to talk a little bit about this next generation. You know, I was recently informed in a class I had to take on listening that the average person checks their mobile phone 100 times a day. And I said, you know, that's kind of interesting because my 17-year-old daughter, she only checks her mobile phone once a day. Now I realize, you look at this generation, you know, she's 17, she's a cheerleader, cute girl, and she uses technology 10 times as much as I did when I was 17. And I was a founding member of the computer club. I was the treasurer. The kids say, Dad, you weren't even the king of the dorks, you were the treasurer of the dorks. That's the kind of guy I was, and I don't use technology or didn't use technology nearly to the extent of what this entering workforce is. People have grown up with this cloud and mobile technologies, and we have so much that's happened in the last 10 years around IT. You know, things like agile development, bring your own devices, consumptive pricing, DevOps. You know, we've changed almost every way we interact with technology, except for the way we operate it. We still operate much like we did in the 90s. Big, tops-down, heavy planning process systems, a lot of ITIL, a lot of putting into how we're going to get their documentation and processes. That's how most IT departments run, but if you went into most large web-scale internet companies, you'd see they don't really operate the same way. You know, those guys don't really, if you watch the way a Facebook or a Google or Yahoo operates and compare that to even a large IT infrastructure, it's a very different set of systems and processes. And, you know, they can do that when they've got 10 million systems. When the idea of putting out a new application or deploying some new systems is really more about taking resources and trying things out. When you're going out and you're buying a $10 million array, or a bunch of new systems, and you have to do a lot of capital planning, that's not so easy for us in a large organization, because we're not running one application. We're running lots of applications and lots of workloads on lots of different systems. And so in this case, we haven't been able to do that the way these guys do, this really kind of try things out and see what works, until the cloud. And what the cloud makes available now is that kind of large fungible architecture, system, software, available to IT departments who don't have that kind of scale to take advantage of them. And so much we talk about price and how it comes through, when it really is about how we can change the way we operate and get some humongous benefits, a lot about cost, but other benefits by going through this kind of next generation of systems and development. So first I'm going to talk about the elements of Agile IT. What makes up Agile IT? And then I'm going to talk about some of the benefits. What are the elements of Agile IT? First of all, there's the Agile methodology. Now, we've been using the Agile methodology in development for a number of years, in software development. But we really haven't used it in operations. So let's go quickly over that. You know, individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration and responding to change over following a plan and contract negotiation. Now, that doesn't mean these things in black we don't do, but it means they're not the most important things we do. Customer collaboration, working systems, individuals and interactions, and responding to change are what are elemental to doing an Agile IT environment, just like it's elemental to Agile development. What do you need for that? Well, one of the key elements is consumptive billing. There's a misconception that consumptive billing is just about getting it for 5 cents an hour for a server. That's very important to see that over the course of time, but you take an average server that someone buys, an average VM, it's 20 cents an hour. They're buying 20, 100 of them. That adds up to real money. It's not necessarily just the fact that it's cheaper. What's important is it's a 20 cent an hour decision. When you tell someone you have to go out and buy a $50,000 system, much less a $10 million system, they tend to get very conservative. They tend to think about, I have to justify all of this cost, and they don't try things. They don't try to see what works and come back, because if they make a mistake, it's a huge black mark. But when people are making 20-cent decisions, it makes it much easier for the people within your team to try different things to see what works and what doesn't work. Because the biggest you have exposed is a couple of dollars. And that creates for a much more iterative process and people who are much more willing to implement new systems and changes to see how they affect the users, knowing that if there's any problem with it, it's an easy rollback. The last piece is this idea of continuous delivery, that we don't come out and spend 2 years planning and then deploy a system, but that we make the constant updates every single day. This is, again, thought about mostly as a feature function capability, the ability to add new features. And Lord knows, these people who've grown up on mobile phones and app stores and web applications expect new features to come on a regular, consistent basis, at least quarterly, often weekly, and sometimes in many apps even daily. So it is important to do continuous delivery to make that happen. But what's also important is we discover that in continuous delivery environments, we get far more stable applications. And the reason that is that most problems in any deployments come in that there's been changes from the time the deployment the system started and the time you actually made the deployment of the application. And other things changed. The other systems you were linking into, the end user systems that were being used somehow changed. And during that time, when you make the release, those changes cause instability of the system or an unworking system. With continuous delivery, not only are you bringing in new functions and features, you know that each change you make are small incremental changes which greatly enhance the stability of your underlying architecture and infrastructure. So what are the benefits of Agile IT? Because it's not just about having some fun and doing it the way the big guys do it, it's about bringing real things back. 3 areas: pay for what you need, savings over in time, improve operations. Pay for what you need, we all know about bursting. Let's go out there and do this big seasonal burst, tax season. Obviously, if you're in e-commerce, those are the traditional ones everybody knows. What we don't see a lot of people implement as well is micro-bursting. The ability to take your applications and your usage and define that by who's using it what time during the day. With consumptive billing, we can go out there and not plan for the largest event, but plan for what we use on a regular basis. Even every single application in the world has some sort of sine wave of usage. You should be able to adjust your spend and consumptive billing to that usage throughout the day because you're not locked into buying the biggest piece. Even if you can't do that, let's just talk about paying for it when you need it. We're doing some implementations right now. We do have to buy hardware. We're going to be very happy on those implementations if we can get our delivery and deployment done within 6 months of when we buy that hardware. And this is a whole new project for us. Obviously, in our more ongoing projects, we have to buy hardware because we are a cloud provider. But that 6-month time is real depreciation, real money being spent. No one ever buys a system, buys and immediately starts using it the day they have it. And even if they do, it's not at full capacity. So you're paying for full capacity even though you only have a number of users on it. With cloud-based consumptive systems, we allow us to actually use exactly what we need. Even if we're laying in users over time, we can lay in our costs over time and see a real savings, millions of dollars worth of savings in depreciation. You can also get savings over time. This is one of my favorites. Most applications today are developed, they're given to the IT staff, they're deployed, and they're done. And all new features and functions, all new programming goes to adding features and functions. With cloud-based and Agile IT, you can actually come back and say, come up with systems that use less memory, less RAM, less users, less licenses, and save us money tomorrow. It's like putting insulation in your house. The next day, you're going to spend less than you did the day before. Obviously, as soon as you have price breaks, you can take advantage of them. With cloud computing, you never have the problem of saying, oh my gosh, they just lowered the price on this new array, because they lower the day you get it the very next day, and we've seen that happen over and over again. And finally, you can improve operations. These systems are critical for things like DevOps. The ability to take now much of what we learned in development and apply that into these systems. It works on individual systems, but it works much better when you're in a consumptive environment and you can apply the same tools now with DevOps using the same types of things in Chef and Puppet than we can with regular development, and actually start using the agile things like Scrum and the like within your operations environment on top of those development tools. And I'm going to add with this last one. We all know this makes users happier when you come to them and say, here's what we thought you wanted, and they say, no, I want it, and you come back a week later, you changed it, you fixed it. That makes for happier users. Continuous delivery makes for happier users. New systems makes for happier users. But it also makes for happier admins, happier guys in your IT department. We all forget the first day we sat down on a computer. You know, you didn't go down there and do a bunch of planning. I'm sure if you're like me, you just started typing things to see what worked and what didn't work. That's what makes us technologists, right? It's why we play so many video games, is because we like this kind of iterative, try something, see if it works, try something else. And over the years with these large systems, we become bridge builders. We spend 2 years worth of planning, and at the end of 2 years, we have something, and we better hope it works right, and we have to prove it out. When in the real world, IT guys, tech guys really enjoy much more the iterative cycle, see something, see if it works, try, go back again. We've actually quizzed people who've done traditional waterfall deployments, traditional waterfall development. To a man, every single person who switches over to agile methodologies, whether it's development or operations, like those systems way better. And I think you'll see that when you look at someone who works, for example, for a Facebook or a Google, and how they enjoy their job compared to your normal sysadmin who works within your organization. So, of course, you want to learn more about our experience at Agile IT. We've got everybody here from both Dimension Data, NTT Group, go all the way through the stack. They can give you more. Otherwise, you've got your blue tickets. I think we're giving out it's the Tesla, right? Dave?
Tesla.
Oh, no, that was yesterday? Oh, no, sorry, guys.
No.
I was wondering why we had such a big group for just a Bluetooth speaker. Okay, guys, have a good one. Thank you very much.
Mr. Treb Ryan, please give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Great presentation. Thank you so much. Can you guys hear me all right? Yeah, okay, wonderful.